Slapstick, sketch, satire, screwball, it all adds up to comedy. But where does comedy come from? What inspires it? Apparently, the origins of comedy are Greek. But according to Aristotle, he says the early days were kind of vague because in what seems like a juicy bit of irony, according to Aristotle, he says at first, comedy wasn't taken seriously. No kidding. Meanwhile, back here in Newfoundland, we're known for our sense of humor. We're a funny crowd, generally, and we love to laugh. But there are those among us who do take comedy quite seriously. They make money making people laugh. And we have four of the best with us tonight. We have four comedians on set tonight to discuss how it's all done. Here on set, Bernie Stapleton, Johnny Harris, Sheila Williams, and Lauren Elliott coming up in just a minute. Don't miss it.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
A Heart and Home original series. When Calls the Heart returns with an all-new season.
Constable, I wrote this as a love letter to my son and to everyone else in this town.
I can't quite outrun my past. We're on the threshold of a new era here.
When Calls the Heart, Season 9.
You're watching Rogers TV St. John's.
And tonight we have with us four comedians to discuss the funny and the not so funny sides of the business. Let me introduce you to our guests. We have at my right Lauren Elliott. Lauren Elliott was born in Montreal, started performing as a folk performer in 1974, went to university in Newfoundland, met up with Kevin Blackmore, and went on to become a musical comedy duo, Free Beer. Since then he's performed his shows in many cities and has written several plays. Welcome back, Lauren.
Nice to be back, Krista.
Also, my friend Bernie Stapleton is with us. Playwright, director, is the artistic director of the Grand Bank Theatre Festival. She's one of Newfoundland's most beloved comedians and is often confused for her fish plant worker cohort, Amy House. Thanks for being back here, Bernie. Also, we have with us Sheila Williams. Sheila is a comedian and actor, proudly from the Ghouls. She's most well known for her work with Spirit of Newfoundland Productions, delighting audiences with her unique brand of humor and quick-witted comebacks to everything and anything that happens with the live audience. Thanks, Sheila.
Thank you.
And as well, Johnny Harris. Johnny has been making quite a name for himself in the comedy world in the past few years. His critically acclaimed one-man show, Out of the Bog, no relation, by the way, to Out of the Fog, has been performed to national audiences, including an excerpt on Madly Off in All Directions. He's been on Hatching, Matching, and Dispatching, and writing for this hour has 22 minutes. Thank you, all of you, for being here.
You're welcome.
Now, we want to get all of you to kind of jump in and talk about a bunch of topics on the comedy topic. But Lauren, I'm going to start with you. What would you be doing if you weren't a comedian?
I'd probably be a marine biologist. That's what I came down to Memorial, but I don't have that sort of a mind, you know.
You don't miss the marine biology now?
Well, kind of do, you know. Kind of, yeah, kind of. I think I could quite happily be a biologist, but except for the fact that I don't really have a scientific mind, too much imagination. So it's
You're
a
pretty
good,
smart, though.
well,
I think you're
not all marine biologists, just because you're going into marine biology doesn't make you necessarily smart.
Really?
Yeah. But thank you
It
for
just
saying
helps,
pretty smart.
probably.
But I think some of the best comedians are smart.
Is that right?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Now, are you born a comedian, do you think, or is it something you can learn? Johnny?
I was always a jackass.
Good start.
I was always kind of playing being the class clown through school and stuff. I think I was probably torturing a lot of my teachers and a lot of parent-teacher meetings and stuff like that. But nothing really straightened me out, and here I am. And making the rent now, so it's okay.
That's a good thing. What about the process for writing material? Where does inspiration come from? Anything and everything? Bernie?
Everything, life, myself, my body, my face, my family, my friends. Basically, everything is fair game. But I just stopped calling myself a comedian recently. I started billing myself as a humorist.
Why?
Because I figured out that if people go to see a comedian and they come out going, that was humorous, it's not so great. But if they go see a humorist and they laugh, they leave thinking,
she's
better
brilliant.
than I thought.
Right, that's good. Well, set the bar a little lower.
Yeah.
Well, follow the trail. You could say yourself as a tragedian then, in which case they'd just be, you know, ecstatic when they laugh.
Yeah, right, exactly.
True.
Four people who would show up for your stand-up tragedy.
That's right.
Get one laugh, and
All
then
of
you're
them
in
barreling
there.
out.
What about you, Sheila?
What about me?
In terms of inspiration, where do you get your ideas for your material?
From my life,
Yeah.
from living on a farm and growing up with my mother and my family, trying in a family of 9, trying to be the funny one, you know, trying always to get the laugh and that sort of thing.
I guess
So
get some attention.
it gets attention, of course it does, and thank God it worked. You know, I mean, it's gotten me this far, and I'm, you know, getting a scatter dollar for it every now and again. You know.
That's
Yeah.
good. Is comedy a lucrative business? I mean, what are the perks of being a comedian?
Can be, I guess. Bill Cosby ain't poor.
No.
So, no,
No.
can be if you can get an audience and they're willing to pay money to see you. You got to get up to that level to do it, and you're willing to go on the road and do that. That's one way to do it. Or, yeah, sure. I think there's just, with comedy, it's naturally got an innate sort of ability to draw people. People want to laugh, you know, so as opposed to, say, tragedy, which is a little harder road to row, or poetry, you know.
Yeah. In terms of, you know, the inspiration for the material, it seems as if the tragedy stuff or the dramatic stuff might actually be easier to do than the comedy. Comedy actually, which is
Absolutely.
kind of something of a paradox, comedy is actually probably more difficult. Would you agree with that?
I would. I definitely agree. People always ask, you know, oh, you should be a stand-up. They always say you should be a stand-up comedian when they see dinner theater or whatever, and it's torture, you know, going out and because people have the attitude, okay, make me laugh.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They're just, and men more so than women. Women are more nurturing as an audience. You know, they want you to succeed. You know, they're saying, oh, she's sweet. You know, she's going to do great. Go ahead. No, we're ready. You know, but men are like this.
Yeah, the gall of those
You know,
audiences.
they look
Come
at
to
you,
an audience,
make me.
come to a show called comedy and expecting to laugh. I mean, what do they want?
Yeah,
Spoon
that's
fed.
right.
That's what they are.
Do you ever tailor your comedy towards a specific gender? Like, I know that some people will say that men kind of prefer the slapstick kind of comedy, women respond to something differently. Do you ever cater something towards a certain audience, Bernie?
I don't, but I do tend to write about things that I know. I know myself as a woman most of all, although I use my son as fodder a lot.
I use my father as father.
Do you? You can have my son as fodder too if you want. Well, you know, for example, I'm writing a piece now on how to get your adult son to move out of the house, and that's gearing, I guess you would say that's geared toward family
Exposes.
humor, you know, and but
That's
no,
a
I
subtle
don't.
way to do it.
Yeah, so I guess I don't.
Yes.
That's it. I just did it. Oh, God, you're gone.
Sorry,
No,
Dad.
that hint won't work. That's a problem. But no, I don't write for women or for men or, you know.
I want to ask you about that, Johnny, because I read a quote today that said, a comedian once said, being married to a comic is a bit like being married to a nymphomaniac. It's funny for about 2 weeks. And I know that you've written jokes. I've heard you joke about your girlfriend and the diet she was on. How does that work out for you?
It's okay because you know I never have a girlfriend, so
It's all fiction.
it's yeah. I mean, it's funny in my experience watching comedians, and I always thought that, you know, when someone said, "Oh, so it's my daughter's 7th birthday today," that was the case. But of course, it never is. Then you'll see that person, you know, do that for 5 nights in a row. But you just kind of, you know, if having a girlfriend works for the joke, then you have a girlfriend, and being single sucks for a joke, then you're single. Sometimes within the same 5-minute set. So
So you
saying
just
that-
make it up.
Yeah, you're saying that everything you say isn't the gospel truth. Is that what you're saying? Well, that's the last time I go to his show.
cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Is there pressure as a comedian to be on at all times, like to be funny at parties and family gatherings, Sheila?
Or interviews on TV. Sometimes.
Yes, right.
And sometimes you just got nothing.
Sometimes it's just not as pretty as you'd like it. Yeah, yeah, I find that pressure. In fact, I
So what do you
actually
do?
don't go to a whole lot of parties. People always say, "Oh, you know, you come over to the house and we'll have a great." Yeah, that's not going to happen. You know, I always look at them. They always think I'm joking at that point. But I rarely go out to a party. You know, obviously I go to some, but I'm choosy. Just simply because people expect you to be funny. You know, they have that expectation that you're going to entertain them for the night and bring the guitar and you're going to sing.
And sometimes you just don't want to be funny?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I've, geez, I don't know. Ooh, I actually, at parties, I like to listen to other people because there's usually somebody in a party who's never going to be a professional comedian, but is probably funnier than any professional comedian particularly in Newfoundland, I must say, or down east generally. And I steal from them, so I'm listening at parties more. You know, yeah, I try to pick up things from just what I call kitchen comedians. Those are the real geniuses, as far as I'm concerned. Because it's a different thing getting on stage and being funny to people who paid to see funny. It takes a certain amount of lying and preparation and stuff. But the kind of stuff I really do cherish is the stuff that just comes out of parties and kitchens.
I guess it's like other artists though, because it seems as if comedy is so effortless. Like to us, it seems as if you guys just do it so naturally and it's how you are all the time. But when you talk about people asking you to come to parties, it's like they expect you to do what you do for a living for free. Just come by and just be funny for a night. Do you feel that, Bernie?
Actually, I'm living proof that a person can be really dull in real life and really dull on stage. But people that I like, I mean, people like Lorne and Amy House, for example, are incredibly smart and quick and there. You're just there all the time. But other people, and I would say maybe Johnny a little bit, Andy Jones, Pete Soucy, Kevin Blackmore in real life, in their day-to-day life, pretty quiet people. You wouldn't really trip up over them, you know, and kind of go, wow, what a funny guy, until you see them on stage, you know, and you realize how much thought has gone into
That's
that.
true, and Kevin Blackmore is like that too.
Yeah.
Buddy what's his name? Because you see that rubber face and you think,
It's amazing.
my God, his family must be cracking up all the time, but he's very
I'm really
quiet.
embarrassed about him. Yeah. No, it's true. He does. I remember. Well, talking about it, I remember bringing him to Montreal for the first time, Kevin, and we went to a party, and he came back, and the next day he could do everybody he'd met at that party. Just just a natural actor is what he really is. That was always what impressed me about Kevin.
Wow.
But yeah, put him in front of a spotlight, and bam, suddenly something comes on. Yeah.
Very clever.
Great to see.
The toughest venue I was ever in was the school bus. I used to get bused from Pooch Cove to St. John's during junior high and high school. Trying to get a laugh on that bus. Everyone else was just inherently way funnier than I was. If I had those sessions, those bus rides recorded, I'd have a lucrative future ahead of me. And,
Do you think they really were, or were you just paranoid?
No, just the things these guys would just just their way of speaking was just. I used to be in the rats laughing.
Yeah. So that's really what it is. Maybe that's what really a lot of professional comedians get into it, just out of envy of that sort of instantaneous thing that other people just have naturally. We sort of study it, and I know I'm a lousy audience when I'm watching other comedians because I'm usually not laughing. I'm trying to think, how do you do that, and how do you do that? I'm breaking it
You're
down.
studying.
I'm studying it, so it makes me a lousy audience.
Yeah, when funny becomes your business, it takes a whole new turn.
What do you do it for? Do you do it kind of for your own amusement, to entertain other people?
Well, it is an art form, I mean, I know that's sort of a pompous way to say it, but it really is. So you have the sort of benefit of producing something, creating something that people hopefully stand up at the end and applaud you for, which is just really nice. A lot of people at work don't have people at the end of the day stand up and applaud. More is the pity, right?
Yeah.
So there is that sort of gratification, but doing something and producing something which, not enough it makes a difference, but at least lightens the spirit or something. So there's a professional pride in that you can take.
Yeah. Anyone else on that one?
I think
What drives you?
I think part of me feels like I should be doing it, and so it's almost like a guilt-driven thing. I think like, okay, I've had some success, so I kind of know that I can. So now I feel that I should, and when actually it makes for a lot of anguish and sitting in front of the computer, like scratching my head trying to come up with funny ideas, and but yeah, to finish a show and have people kind of laugh at your stuff and enjoy themselves is pretty good.
You've all had writing experience too. Do you give me an example of a time when you've experienced, kind of frustration with it when you're trying to churn it out? It must be challenging at times.
All the time.
This morning.
Really?
Well, yeah. I mean, you see something on the page, and geez, or you wrote something down the night before, and you look at it. And this is everything in the world is funny, but this line. you know.
But where did that
Yeah.
come from?
Yeah, it's such, the language is so important, and everybody's voice is so distinctive that Johnny's funny story, I could tell the same story I could do out of the bog, and people would go, what is that? You know what I mean? It's all about your voice and your rhythm and how you put language together.
It's true. When I use Johnny's lines on stage, they never work.
Is that right?
Yeah. Oh God, I was going to use some of them on Sunday.
Just makes the two of
I'm
them.
going to use her material.
Yeah, no, that's
Because when I do
That's the
stuff
best
about kicking my grown-up son out of the house, I kill.
How'd you do that? by the way?
So give me an example of something that hasn't worked that you've tried
Oh
before.
boy, that's a nice thing to ask.
Well, I will say that I started in comedy because this
You call me
gentleman,
Chris.
Chris's lovely wife, Francoise, called me 20 years ago. They were starting the Busted Gut Comedy Club downtown St. John's. And she said, and I'm booking some people to be funny. And I said, I'm not funny. And she said, but of course you are. And I remember one of my first shows, it was Halloween, and it was a big party, and people just were there to drink a lot and weren't really, I did my whole routine to a room full of people who had their backs to me having a cocktail party.
That's always
Painful.
nice.
And there was a man there with a rubber chicken. And he was
Bizarre and painful.
Yep, it's
Yeah.
called dying.
Have you had a bad experience, Sheila, that you try not to remember too often?
No, thank God. You know what? This year, for the first time, I started to do stand-up comedy without the whole troupe behind me, and it's very daunting, you know, to stand up. So I'm a firm believer in the fight or flight phenomenon, where I'm definitely going to fight to win this audience,
Right.
and so I'm going to do anything. Do you know what I mean? And I will stress about it for a month beforehand and be prepared. Thank God. And usually, you know, if that doesn't work, then I'll haul out a joke. I'm going to win the audience. You know what I mean?
Tried and true.
Yeah, tried and true. That's right. Yeah.
What about this sensibility for comedy here? And I know, Lauren, you're not from here, but you certainly have ties to Newfoundland and Labrador.
Yes.
And it seems as if there's kind of like the blend of wit from the British and the black humor of the Irish, and there's certain kind of self-deprecating humor in Newfoundland as well. Is it a different kind of sense of humor here than elsewhere?
I think this thing's better. You know, it's
Yeah.
like Johnny's talking about in the bus from Pooch Cove there. You know, you do see that a lot around. You just see the way people, I talk to them like, I'm talking like it's an anthropological study or something, but it just seems the way, when I get off the plane down in St. John's and I start hearing the way people just relate to each other, there's usually, if not, one-liner after another, there's usually this sort of sense of humor is what it is, and just helping each other through the day, really, which is really nice and precious and worth preserving, I think.
Do you make any adjustments to your material when you go elsewhere to a national audience?
I've kind of found that I haven't had to. I've had material, both my own material and with the dance party Newfoundland stuff, that I've thought it has been kind of inside Newfoundland jokes, but everybody seems to get a charge out of it. So I don't make too many adjustments to my stuff.
And it's night to night too, not necessarily place to place. You know,
Sure.
the dynamics of a room will be different from night to night.
I think the thing too is that especially lately Newfoundland is so celebrated, and even if you look at the example of Hatching, Matching and Dispatching, that what seemed like a really unique form of Newfoundland humor was, in that pilot at least, was quite successful right across the country. It appealed to a big audience. And Hatching, Matching, and Dispatching, we should just mention, we don't yet know, but it may be picked up. I know you do.
Yeah, we're all
Should be. It's a good show.
Knock on wood. Well,
Lauren
thanks very
says
much.
it's a good show. Now, Lauren, you're finishing Madly Off in All Directions here in St. John's.
Absolutely.
Why St. John's?
Well, why not? I got connections with the place, and it seemed like a good thing to do. We were going to end it, so we figured here would be a good spot, and it's a good place to end things. Yeah. I can't think of any other reason than it's really easy for me to do comedy down here. I just have a lot of references amongst the people and friends, and there are a lot of funny people and a huge talent pool to draw from.
And so what will you do after
After
it's put to bed?
I was thinking of launching a fragrance. No, I don't know. I got a bunch of other
Lauren is
things.
a lovely name for a fragrance.
Lauren, yeah, the fragrance. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I don't know. We got a bunch of other projects we're going to be doing. I got about 3 or 4 plays which are sort of on back order, which I want to get up and running, and another idea or 2 for television shows, and
Yeah. I wanted to ask you, Sheila, I know that you're a music therapist as well, and you do a lot of work with comedy and seniors. I wanted to get your kind of comments on the healing powers of comedy.
You know, when I work with seniors or people in old age residence, it seems that you don't really need to do a whole lot. You don't need to be very funny to make these people smile. Do you know what I mean? They just really want to be in your presence. And now it doesn't hurt that you're willing to smile at whatever they say, you know, and warm them up a little bit. But it truly is gorgeous when you see that there's a person sitting in their own world for most of the day. Their face lights up when they see you, you know, and it's almost an inherent reaction when they see you coming. They say, oh, she's just going to brighten my day now. You know, it truly is a healing experience for me. And you know, them as well, you know, and the music adds to that as well. But the comedy really brightens these people, you know, who are alone for most of their days.
There's something about laughing together too, and the dinner theater is a good example of that, because you really see it's actually really quite strategic the way it's set up, and it's the same in like cabaret style, you know, where they put the round tables and the concentration of the big laughter, because there is something really satisfying about having a big group of people all laughing together, like
gorgeous.
Universal connection, you know?
That's right,
Before I let you go, I'd like to kind of each of you just kind of tell me a really good experience on stage as a comedian before I let you go. Lauren, a favorite for you?
Favorite, madly off actually, Urban Carmichael, who just passed away about 2 weeks after he did the show, was doing a show in Charlottetown just a couple of months ago, which I thought was just beautiful, but not only just funny, because he's certainly capable of that, but he was talking about going through cancer, you know, and making it humorous for a group of people. And it was just, as I say, it was humorous, but it was also heroic. So that was a big moment for me. When,
Bernie?
Anytime I get to do Madly Off is a great thrill, and it brings together comedians and humorists from across the country, and I'm really going to miss doing the show, but it's always been a highlight for me. Yeah.
Sheila?
Humor, any time I get to use comedy is gorgeous. I love seeing people, seeing joy in people and bringing joy to their lives. So every time I'm on stage, I love it.
Johnny?
I think, doing the first time they had me on Mad Laugh was in Charlottetown.
You're all so respectful of each other.
Well, but it was one of my first stand-up gigs. It was my first stand-up gig outside the province. So as far as kind of what you were saying earlier, I was wondering if things would translate, and people seemed to get a kick out of it. So that was nice.
Yeah.
It was Charlottetown. It wasn't Baghdad or something.
Wouldn't translate that at all.
Thank you, all of you, for being here. Four comedians to talk about the business of comedy: Johnny Harris, Sheila Williams, Bernie Stapleton, and Lorne Elliott. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Lorne Elliott is actually doing his final show of Madly Off in All Directions this Sunday night. We are going to tell you the details, but for our viewers, we have a pair of tickets to give away to this show. It's one not to miss, so get in touch with us. We'll be right back.
It all started when I racked up some serious debt. Interest payments were going up, creditors were calling. Janes and Noseworthy came up with a plan. Knowing that the phone was going to stop ringing and that I was not in this alone was a huge relief. Bankruptcy or a consumer proposal or whatever help you get is not the end. It's just the beginning. A chance to start again with knowledge and support and people in your corner. Are you ready? Get out of debt. It's okay.
Learn more about Leah's story at janesnoseworthy.ca.
One in 3 fatalities on our waterways is caused by impaired boating. Don't boat impaired.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to our special episode celebrating 20 years with this edition from the Vault. Make sure you tune in next time to Out of the Fog, and we'll see you then.
Comment about this program, we'd love to hear it. Email or call us, or send us your feedback through social